So I'm just gonna reveal here. Play this one.
This is a kind of a two-way street, the first one, but this is my experience being a good-looking guy. Sometimes, not so much now because they kind of hide my aura, but in the past, when if I was walking down the street and I seen a couple walking, she'd allow him to walk in front of her just to try to make eye contact with me, so she wasn't really into him. Right, so be attention of that. If your girl all of a sudden you see an attractive man or an attractive woman, vice versa, depending on what sex you are, and you're holding hands, and then all of a sudden they're no longer holding your hands, they're not really into you, right? Because whereas guys, we're kind of jealous, right? So that being said, sometimes, like as a guy, I want to hold my girl's hand if I see a guy that could be competition, right? So that being said, and another thing that women I've noticed that have done to me is when she's into me, if she's wearing a dress, she'll cross her legs, revealing her thigh. Whereas if she's not into me, she'll cross her legs, making it so I would only see her knee, right? So pay attention to that, because, and they also say, you know, if she unbuttons all the way down, revealing cleavage, then she's not happily married, right?
So I did have another point. That's why I started recording, but they hacked me to forget. And then when I was about to remember, the guy at the shelter hacked me again. He's a loser. But anyways, so they hacked me again. So let me see if I can recall. So, if your phone, like, you shouldn't be hiding your phone from your spouse, right? If you're hiding your phone from your spouse, that's a problem, right? But at the same time, you should trust your spouse not to want to look through your phone, right? Because if there's trust issues, then it's like it just only gets worse, right? So you have to address it. And if there's no kids in the relationship, if you don't have kids in the relationship, bail, right? No relationship is worth that, right? If you can't trust them, then you can't trust them. You'll never be able to trust them, right? So get out before you have kids. Oh, and another thing I noticed about me is, just say I started going to a new place, and all of a sudden, like, I met some dude or whatever, right? And we started hanging out, and then he has a girlfriend, right? So then I see her the first time, right? She's not expected to see me, right? So then, so she's not dressed to impress, right? But then next time I show up, all of a sudden she's dressed to impress, right? So if an attractive man or woman starts coming over and your partner all of a sudden starts putting on their best face forward, so to speak, then be suspicious. And once again, if you don't have kids, then leave the relationship, right? Leave the relationship, because your soulmate is going to be happy with you, not trying. Like, I heard this thing, Gandhi, he was walking with some girl, and she's like, well, I love you, blah, 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 and I'm infatuated with you. And he's like, but I got a younger, more handsome brother, right? And then behind me, and then she looked back, right? If she was into him, then she never would have looked back, right? You know, unfortunately, everybody ends up getting their heart gets broken at some point, right? Like, mine hasn't romantically, well, in a way, slightly it did, but it hasn't romantically. But everybody's heart gets broken at some point. It's inevitable, right? Like me, my heart gets broken by how people treat me, right? They can, so that breaks my heart, especially friends and family. But, so that breaks my heart. But romantically, it could happen to me. Like, I'm on guard and blah, blah, blah. I have walls up, and because I know, right? Like, I know how to protect my heart, because that's the most priceless thing, right? Like that, people do crazy things when it comes to love, right? Like, so don't like that song, don't break young girls' hearts, right? But at the same time, like when I was in high school, my hat would fall off my head and hit the ground. And then before I hit the ground, they're like, I love you. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I like you. I just met you and I like you, right? I don't love you because I don't even know you, right? So that being said, like, be careful, right? With young girls' hearts and with women, right? Like there's this one woman I had a one night stand with, and it would have probably been more than that, but she looked at me like she loved me, and it was the first time we had sex, right? And so all I could do at that point was not break her heart further. I was gonna break her heart no matter what, because I wasn't in love with her, right? So I knew I was gonna break her heart, and so that was sad. But at the same time, all I could do is let her down gently, right? Say that I can't facilitate this or what have you. Like I was probably tactful, and not as tactful as I would be today. But so that being said, be gentle with people's feelings, because what goes around comes around, right? Like and because like for me, like, every single relationship I had, I was the one that terminated the relationship, right? So I've been lucky. Whereas that's not always the case for people, right? So, just be careful, because people's hearts and emotions, right? And people will do some crazy fucking things.